Hi. Can we give a bigger round of applause for the best and chillest organizers ever? The biggest one. I've been to many conferences, but React Alicante is like literally the chillest conference ever. Like there's no stress. The organizers are super cool. Yesterday I was doing a workshop. I arrived like 2 minutes before the workshop. I thought someone was going to be mad. Everyone is like, take it easy. I love Spain. I love it. Opening a conference is like a huge honor to me. I don't know if I prefer it to closing conferences and giving people that existential dread before they go home, but I like opening a conference. It's mind-blowing to me because at events I talk at, in the last one, there was the creator of CSS. At the previous one, there was the creator of JS. In Berlin, at the same conference last year, Steve Wozniak was there. So when they read the names, and now the guy who created Apple, and now the guy who created JavaScript, and now the guy who's this? Electron app? Okay, just let him on stage. It feels so weird, but yeah, I really appreciate opening a conference. You probably maybe stumbled upon me on Twitter. I'm KITZE on Twitter. So if you have any spicy opinions or you want to argue with me after the talk, you can find me at KITZE on Twitter. I'm from Macedonia, but I live in Poland. I don't like any of these names. I just call myself a slider skipper. That's what I call myself. So this thing is interesting. I call myself just a rectangle mover. I even made myself a t-shirt because I think everyone's ego in this industry is too inflated, and everyone is, I'm a senior ninja, rockstar, founder, architect of dreams, like all of these LinkedIn bios. And I'm like, we fed JSON and we move rectangles, like chill and relax. About me, I'm working on too many things at once. I tried to make an online quiz one time, whether I have ADHD or not, but I build on the quiz in the middle of it. So I guess that kind of answers it because I cannot focus on things. I'm trying to do everything and all at once. But yeah, even this web dev in a rap song, because yeah. The main thing that I'm working on is KITZE, and I always torture myself at every conference to ask people who is actually using KITZE. Even my wife doesn't raise her hand. She's like, yes, I don't want to be. So yeah, one day, hopefully, this hand raise will be more people. We've been working on KITZE, the browser for developer, for 3 years. We're making a browser specifically for developers. So if you're a front-end developer, full-stack developer, we give you all of these crazy modes for multiple devices at once. All of the dev tools are right there. You don't have to dig into inspect element and so on and so forth. So you can check it out at KITZE.app. I always felt guilty for not doing a technical talk because everyone's going to talk about super nerdy things and stuff, and I'm always with these philosophical talks. So this time I decided to do a little bit like 5 quick technical talks before we start. So the first one is how to build an Electron browser from scratch using Electron, Next.js, and Mobile State Tree. Don't. Your mental health will thank you. Thank you for attending. The next one is the missing explanation for use effect. It's still missing. Thank you for attending. Next one is what's new and exciting in React. Nothing unless you're the Facebook team. Thank you for attending. And the final and my favorite one is the practical use cases for Web3. Thank you for attending. Now we can start. This talk is called GitHub Stars Won't Pay Your Rent. And I have 2 goals with this talk. If you read my article on this, it's literally with the same name. You might think it's the same article in a talk format. It's not, because back when I wrote that article in 2019, there was this other more hopeful KITZE. So I went back to the article recently. I even teared up. I'm like, God damn it, I was so hopeful about the future, KITZE, startups. We're going to build something for developers. Now when I read it, it's like, no, fuck that. So my 2 goals with the talk is I want to motivate you to start properly charging for your work in the first half of the talk. So don't forget this when you get hyped in the first part. And the second one is to completely demotivate you to ever release something paid because it's a nightmare. So we can start. Everything I ever worked on was for one reason. Money. I'm kidding. It would be stupid if that's the talk. So I just wanted to build solutions to my own problems. And I really believe that this philosophy can get you places, but a lot of people don't believe it. Like the first product I ever built, this was 2016 or 17. It was this website, which I'm not going to pronounce because I don't want to trigger 30,000 assistants here going like, yes, how can I help with your day? So I needed this for myself. I needed a list where I was an Android user. I have a bunch of Google Homes and I wanted to see all the commands, like a crowdsourced list of commands. And I know it's not going to be that useful, but I didn't have an agenda for anyone else. I just wanted to make it for myself. So when you think about this as a product, it's like a demo app. It's super niche. Like only benefit is some grandma somewhere will know how to set a spaghetti timer, or like you cannot have a bigger plan for this. But Suddenly, they posted me on TechCrunch. Like, I was just this random kid from Macedonia, just working on my first product. Everyone was asking me, why are you working on that bullshit? Like, that doesn't make sense. Make something useful. And then I see myself on TechCrunch. And then a bunch of people follow me. And then other stuff happened. It snowballed into everything, but it was never with a plan. My only plan was like, I want a solution to my own problem. I don't care. Probably more people have it. If they have it, good. If they don't, I really needed it for myself. So it wasn't some part of some master plan. So I really believe this. I get a bunch of DMs. I get a bunch of people asking me about, hey, what's your money advice? Or what's your followers advice? Or what's this advice and that advice? And I'm always just going with my own thing, like solution driven. Just find a problem that you have, solve it. Someone else will have the same problem. And like, that's the philosophy for everything else. I see people on Twitter having like follower goals nowadays and make sure that I grow my account by, like, I just tweet whatever I think of. Like, I'm trying to be helpful. Back in the day, I was tweeting like all sorts of things, blog posts and stuff. Like, I'm trying to be helpful. I'm trying to be funny, but it's never with an agenda. I just do what I think I should do, solve my own problems, and that leads to the other things. Two problems with the approach of solve your own problem is most times, you won't think that your problems are worth solving. And second is, you might not find any problems in everyday life. So the first one is nobody else has my problem, which is ridiculous. Because when we think about this, and I've been guilty of this, I've been thinking about this, that nobody else has my problem. We think of our closest group of friends. We think of our closest social media bubble, like Twitter, Reddit, Facebook, whatever it is. And we think of our mom. Mom, do you think I should build a Kubernetes thing for her? Let's get you a real job. That's what your mom's going to say, because she's a mom. But everyone thinks nobody else has my problem because they think very like in a bubble. We're going to touch more on that later. Two types of people when it comes to solving problems. You have my sister, for example, where nothing is a problem for her. We had like back when we lived together, when we were kids, we had a DVD and a TV with two different remotes. And one of the remotes got out of battery low. So for a year, anytime she needed to use the other remote, she would swap batteries between the remotes and then use the other one. And it was just killing me. It's actually one of the reasons why I moved out. I was like, I cannot look at that. Like, that's too much for me. So we have people that are, nothing is a problem. They can just live with something. And then you have someone like me who's like completely obsessed with solving anything. And this is getting super annoying. Like, it might be useful in startups, in apps, in open source, in whatever. But it's also super annoying to constantly live with this feeling that I can solve this. This table is too low. If it was higher, I could drink my water here. Like, it's so annoying to think like this. Like, I was cutting cherry tomatoes for a day. And then I was like, there's no way I'm ever going to cut cherry tomatoes with this knife and it's going to splatter in my face. I hate this. Somebody must build a solution. So I found it on AliExpress. It's called a cherry tomato slicer. And this is the best thing that happened in my life. After our marriage, of course, but literally. Like, I constantly think of these problems and I'm like, I know there's a solution somewhere out there. So this mindset in everything can be a little bit annoying, but it led me to actually building KITZE. Because my mindset was, I was tired of resizing my browser. The first thing, when I was working for clients, the client was like, it must be super responsive, it must work on all devices. And I was like, cool. And then I switched in Chrome once, 2 times, 3 times, iPad, iPhone. I'm like, fuck this. Like, I want something where I can preview multiple things at once. So I put a bunch of iframes on a page and I just tweeted out, hey, does anybody want this? And turns out people are like, oh yeah, we never thought of looking at multiple web views at once. And that was like 2017, but it snowballed. There was no grandmaster plan. I was like, I'm tired of doing responsive design the old way. I'm going to make something new. I didn't know where it was leading. And then throughout the years, like every feature that we've built in KITZE, for example, I was tired of logging in and out. Like, if I want to work with multiple roles in a browser, I need to log out. I need to open an incognito window. I need to constantly shift my users. And I'm like, why don't we make like every device can have a different session if you want to, and then you log in with different users. And then, sorry for the pun, but of course, I was tired of course, and we added a toggle for disabling course, and I was tired of Googling how to kill a port. So basically every feature that we added in KITZE was, I'm tired of driven development. So it's a bit selfish when you think like this, like, I'm tired of this, let's fix it. And we just add features that developers don't even know that they need, but when they see them, they're like, oh shit, I never thought of that, that's cool. But it's not some part, like, we actually suck at planning, and most of the features were just problem-driven development. Hey, we think this sucks, let's fix it. And that's it. So when you fix things, when you do solutions to your problems, there's always this Shakespearean dilemma, like to open source or not to open source something. And of course, I always went in the past, and I see a lot of people, they're still doing it, and we're doing it. They open source things, and I think the number one reason, yes, it's useful to share things and to open source stuff, but I think the biggest reason is it's easy. It's one button. Like, you make a solution to something. Let's say you make an app, like the list of Google commands. Publishing it on GitHub is like one click. You just go and you write a command and you publish and it's live. And then you can tweet about it. People can see it. But making it paid or making something bigger out of it requires way more time, way more work, and way more planning. Like building a customer portal, integrating with Stripe, integrating with payment systems. Like there's a lot more things that you need to do. And then the doubt comes back and you're like, yeah, but that's not worth it. Who's going to pay for this? So you go in that cycle and you're just like, oh, it's easy. Let me just open source it. So when we open source KITZE, that was my solution. 2017, I made it. It was a basic iframe web app. And I was like, let's open source it, see what happens. So over the course of, I don't know how long was it, like 1 year or something, it got 5,000 stars. It was, on Product Hunt, we beat Raspberry Pi, which is, it's a tiny computer. That's bananas. Or that's raspberries. I'm sorry. So it was really mind-blowing what was happening. Like we had thousands of active users. Our Google Analytics were exploding. So when I tell you all of this, it must mean, right? Like the metrics should show. So I want you to give me a little drum roll with your hands on your knees like this. And I'll tell you how much KITZE made as an open source app in 2 years. Bam. 2 years. Closing issues, solving PRs, discussing with people, arguing with people, 2 fucking years for $92. So you might be like, but that doesn't make any sense. I mean, for my current open source work, like I just completely gave up on it. Like right now I have all of these warnings. This is one of my FAQs for a router that I made. I just don't care. I'm like, does it support this? No. Can it do? Yeah, do it yourself. So now it makes sense that I only have one GitHub sponsor that gives me $1. But back then there were like thousands of users. So why does nobody pay? It actually makes perfect sense. You're at an airport, somebody hands you a sandwich. Who's going to be like, I'll pay $30 for that, I don't want it. Everyone's going to be like, oh, it's a free sandwich. Like, fuck it, I'm going to take it, right? That's open source. Everyone's giving something for free. People take it for free. And then open source maintainers are like Pikachu face, like, they actually are not paying, they're not donating. And it makes perfect sense that like when something is free, do you know those sliders? Like pay what you want sliders? Like when you have a book or a product or an app or something, and there's a slider like pay what you want. Have you ever tried dragging that to the right side? If you tried, a bunch of dust is going to pop up like, because nobody dragged it to the right side. Everyone's like pulling it to the left, like, gotta get it to 0. Why doesn't it go to 0? Because when you have pay what you want, you don't want to pay anything. So it makes perfect sense. A couple of years went by. We were like, I was working on workshops, I was working on conferences, and I didn't need an actual browser for development. I didn't care about developing websites. But then the perfect storm happened a couple of years later. I started working on websites again. And just like the cherry tomato slicer, once something gets in my head that web development can be easier, I can develop websites easier, there was no way, and KITZE was pretty unfinished. It was pretty shit. It was a web app. It was running iframes, tons of limitations. And I'm like, I'm either going to finish that or never develop a website again. It was one or the other. So I couldn't think any other way. So I did that and I got a DM from actually the first person who joined me and said, hey man, I need some whatever advice, and we just started working together. And then also I tried on Amazon to pay, there was no button for paying with GitHub stars. I tried, but there was like Apple Pay, Google Pay, and nothing for GitHub stars. And then my landlord knocked and he was like, hey, you need to pay the rent. And I was like, but my repo has 5,000 stars. It's like GitHub stars can't pay your rent. So classic Shakespearean dilemma again. When it came this perfect storm, should we close source this open source thing and get a bunch of people pissed? Or should we just continue and find a way to monetize it or whatever? So crippling doubt again. Now we have nobody else has my problem on top of nobody else is going to pay for this. So this is very silly and ironic because this was a product that was live. It had analytics. We had confirmation and proof that thousands of people used this, and still my brain was going, nobody's going to pay for this. So if I was thinking that, what happens when you have a product with 0 users? Of course you're going to think, nobody else is going to give me money for this. Because you have the proof and you still believe like, no one's going to pay for this. And the problem is, you're thinking of your bubble versus the world. So I was always thinking, when I think of open sourcing something, publishing something, like if I close my eyes, I just visualize 15 people that I know from Twitter or developers that we hang out. And I'm like, yeah, but they're not going to use it. They're not going to pay. So it's pretty like it's really limiting to think in that way. So when we started selling KITZE, when I got sales from Japan, I was like, but I don't know anyone. Like it didn't make sense to me. And then I have this specific example because that like opened my eyes in a way. When I saw that Japan flag somewhere in the payments, I was like, holy shit, like you can sell to the entire world. You don't sell to your 5 closest friends and your mom. So we decided we're going to close source it. We're going to make it paid. Then came this thing, choosing a price. And I had the dumbest philosophy for this. Still my philosophy for KITZE is I want, like when I ask in a conference who's using it, everyone to be like, yes, I'm saving time with it. So I was thinking, if we price it as low as possible, I want everyone to be able to afford it. Everyone should use it. Everyone should afford it. So we priced it at silly $5 per month. So when someone looks at something, like imagine you go to Photoshop and you see their list of features, it's like, brrr, they have 30,000 things. And then you go to pricing and it's something low. You're like, well, what's the catch? Are they stealing my data? Are they doing something shady? Nobody believed about our price. Like we had some talks with investors. They were like, that's your actual price? You're a joke. Like that doesn't make sense. No one's going to take you seriously. So finally now we double, even more than double the prices. Our sales are staying the same. And we realized this. And this is true for paid products or for not paid products. Like there's two groups of people. There are people who get it. Like they're going to scroll the landing page. They're going to give it a try. And they're going to be like, oh my God, like this makes sense. It's going to save me thousands of hours. Like people are absolutely either going to get it and pay anything for it. Now when I think of it, we should have priced it more. But yeah, I got to think market research and stuff. And there's people who don't get it. You can price it to be like 50 cents. You can price it any price. There's people who just don't think that your product brings value and they're just not going to pay you for it no matter what you price it. So we decided to close source the open source app. And this is what happened. Like explosion of reactions of the existing users. Of course, they're like, I'm going to make my own version. I'm going to make it better. Like it doesn't make sense. No, this shouldn't be a subscription. Something that you work on for 3 years, all day, every day, shouldn't be a subscription. Desktop app shouldn't be subscription. Like all sorts of complaints. Like why would I pay for a browser? And I'm like, compare this to real life. Just real life out there. Imagine going in a grocery store and you're to the cashier like, this milk is $2. I can buy my own cow. I can get my own milk. I can go to the other side of the city. I can buy cheaper milk. And then the cashier is going to be like, oh, okay. You go do that? Like, why are you telling me? But on the internet, everyone has this freedom to just shout in your face, hey, I won't pay you for your thing. Okay, just don't. So we launched. It was party time. It was actually, let's say, one of the fun things of this entire journey of like the last 5 years. This was one of the fun things. Like, first time you actually make money from a paid product and you get that notification. I had my smart lights turning green. There was a ka-ching sound going every time there was a customer. Like they blocked my IP address because they were refreshing the payment provider page all the time. So it was super exciting. Most exciting time ever. My wife here, who finally joined full-time this year, since the beginning, she was super hyped about everything. She made all of this merch. It looks like the CZ vomited on us. And everything was super hyped and everything was super cool. And so if you listen to what I said until now, this was the first half of the talk, you'll be like, you know what? You're closing your open source repo on your phone. You're texting your boss, fuck you, I'm going to make my own thing. I'm going to make my own product. You go on Tinder. You're like, I'm going to go find my own wife. She's going to make merch. We're going to look like that. Like you have all of this path, but I want to disappoint you with the second part of the talk. You're going to be like this. So this is part 2 called fuck having a startup. So reasons why having your own startup sucks are too many, but I'm going to start with the basics. The basics are, what do you do with your time? That's the basics. What's your job actually? So I tweeted this recently that most engineers actually make way more money than the average startup founder. And classic Twitter got mad at me. But when I said the average startup founder, I mean this guy who after 3 years of building a product tweets that they finally got to make $500 per month or something. But people fall for the emoji. They fall for the, ooh, just being your own boss, having your own startup, even 500. Like people in McDonald's make more than $500, but when you see someone with a startup, you fall for it and you're like, oh, cool. So I was talking about most engineers make more money than this average startup founder. And these were the replies on Twitter. It's not about the money. It's about ownership. It's about proving yourself. And you won't have Scrum meetings. Like we have more meetings than ever. Then there was like, it's because people are motivated. They'll put more effort because they're making a dent in the world. The only dent is in my head from reading Electron documentation. There's no dent in the world. And there's this guy. We love to build things. Why don't we act on our ideas? These are so stupid because you can love the thing you're working on. You can act on your idea, but can you live from it? Like, is it going to give you livelihood? Yeah, you can act on your ideas and build a side thing. You can work on weekends on your ideas. It doesn't mean that monetizing something is going to be an enjoyable experience. And my favorite reply of everyone was this one. This is hilarious. It's nice being able to do what you want. For the last 3 years, let's say, I haven't been able to do what I want. I'm dealing with this shit on the daily. This is an email that arrived. Just look at this email. Doing what you want, right? Wake up, you open email, and you see this. So everyone has this misconception that if you have your own thing, it's always fun. But this is the reality. That peak moment with the merch, with the launch, with everything, that was the peak moment of fun. And then after a while, you have to do mundane things that you hate. Especially as a developer, you would hate to do any of that. It's not doing what you want. I even made an even more useless chart to tell you that it's 90% not fun. I just wanted to have charts in my talk. So you have to realize that every job has the job part that sucks. I was thinking about actors recently, and I'm like, it's cool to see them in a movie, but doing the job sucks. Like any job sucks. The Queen's too early for that. So more problems. Customers, like if anyone here spent $1, I think I just meant, I don't know where are you, but I just met someone who said CZ is useful, blah, blah, blah. I'm using it. Thank you for every dollar that you spent on it. But every customer, most customers are a pain in the ass. Why? They'll always send an email. You cannot out-email your customers. You can make a pretty landing page. You can make an FAQ. You can make docs. You can make a chatbot. They'll skip the chatbot. They'll send you an email. Like we literally forgot to put a contact link on our new landing page. There's no way to find the CZ email. It's not anywhere. Somebody sent this. Hey, FYI, you don't have an email. I'm like, motherfucker, did you guess it? Like, how did you send this one? Did you guess it from somewhere? Like, we get people doing these things. Like, hey, can I, it's not supported in my country. Or my Lenovo Chromebook thingy, it doesn't run, like, whatever. And the first year, we were so hyped about discounts because we wanted, all the discounts. So instead of just having Black Friday or back to whatever, we had Black Friday, back to school, Christmas, Mariah Carey discount, Kim Kardashian broke up discount. Like every second day was a discount for CZ. And of course, people wanted to use that. So there was this person I remember who they signed up with a coupon, not with a discount, during a sale. So they got a coupon and a sale at the same time. And when we had some, I don't know which sale it was, probably Santa Claus and his wife anniversary sale or whatever we had. They asked, can I also have that sale? And I'm like, at this point, I have to pay you, literally, for the app. So they're always gonna ask for crazy things. And I want to thank my wife who's actually handling the customer support in a super nice and polite way. She's writing all of these long emails with apologies and everything. Because if I had to answer to customers, this would be my emails. I'm tired. Like it's right there in the settings. Just click around. People email the most dumb thing like, hey, where's this toggle? And it's like right there in front of them. So I don't have the patience. Next one, marketing. Like as a developer to do marketing, even wearing this t-shirt. I made these t-shirts after 3 years of having CZ. We feel like marketing is cringe. It's like, ew, we don't want to sell things as developers, right? Even Gen Z Shakespeare said it that way. Like marketing is cringe. I mean, this is a very bad philosophy to have when you're selling something, but it feels dirty to sell something, especially when you have a developer mindset. But when I say fuck marketing, I mean especially, and I'm sorry, all of you are developers, but you're the worst audience to sell something, even something free. Even when people give something for free for developers, like GitHub Copilot was literally free for how long was it free? For 1 year? Developers are like, no, I'm going to code on my own. I'm going to kill GitHub Copilot. I'm going to take its blood. I'm going to paint my letters one by one with its blood. I don't want anyone's help. Even the free stuff. I don't want it. I want to code in Vim. I want to code in my terminal. I don't need any help. My next product is going to target everyone on earth. Even snails, lizards, snakes, but not developers. It's just pain in the ass to sell to. And next one, we have hiring sucks. Because doing what you want, right? I always wanted to do interviews with people. It was my dream, doing what you want, doing interviews with people. So the first reason that hiring sucks is money, because when you bootstrap, when you create your own thing, you have to have money to hire someone. The second part is interviews. I go on a call with someone to interview them for a part-time role thingy. He's on a balcony, on Zoom with his phone. Let me just finish this cigarette. I'm like, I know this is the new generation when everyone's like, I don't want to dress this way, I want to dress that way, I don't want to be professional. Like everything is freedom. Like no one wants to accommodate to any rules, even on Zoom meetings and stuff. I'm like, but that's kind of rude. Like I was interviewing someone else, she was in a cafe, no microphone, no headphones, no nothing. And I really wanted to hear what she says, but all I heard was, but the player's gonna play. Like Taylor Swift was louder than her. I'm like, how does she think that she's gonna get the job? Like it's ridiculous. There was this other person I interviewed. In the middle of it, she pivoted to talking how COVID was a hoax. And I just had to sit there and listen like, you're not getting this. Like, how can I tell you? And my favorite example was, we're starting the call. I don't know if there's a person out there. I see like a basement-y type of thing. There's some like dots appearing and stuff, like the camera's trying to connect. And I'm like, okay, let's do this. And I just hear on the microphone. I'm like, I would love to do this interview, but are you kidnapped? Like, should I call 911? Like, I would love to talk to you. What's happening? So, yeah, there's more reasons I can go on, like why having your own thing sucks. We can all agree on this one. Meetings suck. People think there's no meeting. Electron things, I don't want to even get to it. Then there's more meetings. And writing a private. Have you ever done this? It sucks. Writing a privacy policy, it's horrible. Meetings. Yeah, there's a bunch of things that suck. And, of course, people always have this answer. Well, if you think that doing this sucks, why don't you just hire someone? People say this. Do you see what's happening to the world? Like, we're bootstrapped with our own money. How do you, how? Which leads me to the biggest problem. Like, you need to live from this. It's cool building your own ideas and stuff, but you actually need to live from this. Like, you need money for marketing, you need money for hiring, you need money for surviving, you need money for everything. So the even more classic Shakespearean dilemma is whether to raise money or just to stay broke on the verge of bankruptcy. So this is always a dilemma. I decided to just go bootstrap. I'm not sure about this decision, but what investors needed from me were two things which I didn't like. They needed me to focus, which I can't. I want to work on multiple things at once. And they were like, no, you have to work on only one thing, and that needs to be your main thing. And then losing control, it seems so scary for me. Like, even if I lose all the CZ customers in one day, I would keep building it for myself because I need it for myself. And I'm afraid if I give it to someone else to lead it, especially people who want to make money from it, it's going to look something like this. KFC ads, the device is going to be turned into NFTs. Like, God knows what they're going to do with it. So I was like, no, I'm going to stay in control and I'm going to do my own thing. So you must think like, oh, well, that's nice. It's nice being in control. It's nice being your own boss, as people say. Fuck this. This is the worst thing ever. Like a lot of people dream of this. They think of this magical moment. I've been dreaming of this ever since I started freelancing. I was dreaming of just an empty calendar. During my first job, meetings and everything, I was like, man, I hope one day to have an empty calendar. Then I started freelancing. The calendar got smaller, so I got more space for myself. Then I stopped freelancing. I started doing workshops. Empty calendar. Do you know what's an empty calendar sometimes? Existential dread. Like, you stare at that thing and you're like, fuck. What do I do now? Like, you have to choose for your own things. I thought like the next step will set me free. Only if I get to a free calendar, then everything is going to be fine. So the pros are, you can plan your own time, you can make your own decisions, and you can plan your own tasks. Great. The cons are, you can plan your own time, you can make your own decisions, and you can plan your own tasks. Nobody else is going to give you that sweet daily CSS puzzle, you know, that you get in your daily stand-up. You're like, you solve this today, you have fun all day, you go home at 5 p.m., you just chill, you watch House of Dragons, Mother of Thrones, whatever that thing is called, and you don't have any worry in the world. Worst case scenario, you lose your job. I don't know what you have to do to lose your job. Then you find one of the billion other jobs that are waiting for you as a front-end web developer, as a full-stack developer. But the person on top has to take all the existential dread and stress and managing people and too many things. And sometimes I'm just praying for a day that someone just gives me a daily puzzle, or they fill my calendar with things I need to do so I can do them. Because we over-glorified this thing. This is so over-glorified. Like, I want to be my own CEO and whatever. Like, people, like, back when I had a job, we were thinking like, oh man, when I quit on that guy, we're going to hire an orchestra. It's going to be a party. We're going to show him. We're going to build our own thing. Because there's this misconception that you can only work for someone or work for yourself. And a lot of developers, when they have a shitty job or they just don't like some parts of the job, they just dream, oh man, only if one day I get my own thing, I get my own calendar. But that's such a misconception. Like, there's way many other jobs that can give you more flexibility, that can give you, you can actually be happy at that job, working for someone else than actually working for yourself. What people don't realize, and what I realized, and this is super sad, that there's no scenario when you're not working for someone. I'm working for someone. But instead of working for a boss, now I'm working for thousands of bosses. All the customers, they have requests, they have things that you have to do. So now you're working for thousands of users, and you work for your employees. Like, I have 2 full-time people, and I have my wife who quit to join full-time. So all the responsibilities, I have to work for them. I cannot just be like, no, I'm not going to work. Like, you work for thousands of people now, which is even scarier than working for one person who gives you a daily CSS puzzle. But everything seems more glamorous from the outside, right? When you see all of these people at a pool, coding, taking Alicante pictures, you don't see like the fat kid like splashing in the pool, playing Marco Polo. You don't see the person having like glare. They cannot see anything in light mode, any dark mode near the pool. You just see, oh, someone's working near the pool. That's fucking cool. It sucks. It's horrible. And hiring people is a huge responsibility, which a lot of you probably have, or you manage a team. You don't have to be on top to manage a team. Like, to me, this is like the hardest thing, and I don't want to say the worst thing, but it's really the hardest thing ever. Because I connect with the people, and I'm like, these people are now my responsibility. I cannot fuck this up. So I feel like with every new person, with everything, like I just hired someone recently, and I feel like I'm just building this prison for myself. I never wanted to work on CZ as a startup. It was supposed to be a fun thing. So slowly, like, more customers, hire someone, do this, do that. Like, I feel like I'm building these prison walls just higher and higher and higher. And actually, prison is actually better. You get a bit more benefits. You get a bit more free time. But it feels like there's no escape from this. Like, you built this. It is what it is. Almost got hit by a bus the other day. Last week, like a couple of weeks ago when I was in Poland, I hired this new guy. And I wanted to push myself to the next limit. I was like, I'm going to hire someone just to grow more and to do more and whatever. I didn't know like the feeling that's going to come with it. Oh, fuck, more responsibilities now. So for the first time in a long time, I stopped sleeping properly. I wrote this talk at 4 a.m. because I thought like that's the only time that I can squeeze time for myself to work on a talk. Everything's going to be slack, whatever. So I was driving, just thinking about work and everything I need to do. I didn't look at an intersection. I looked to the right. There was a bus like very close. Somehow I made it. So I went to the office, I started crying. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? I never wanted to build this for myself. It just got me in this turbulent mode for a couple of years. And now I'm here doing tasks that I don't want to do, doing a job that I don't want to do. I'm like, what the fuck have I done for myself? Like, it sucks. Doing what you want, right? That tweet. We're doing what you want. So I don't want to say that on some days I just want to quit. On most days I want to quit. But it feels like I want to solve daily puzzles. I want to be a rectangle mover, a developer, just have fun. But having fun just doesn't pay the bills. It doesn't work that way. At this point, it feels unfair to quit for everyone, for the customers, for myself, for my wife, it just feels unfair to quit. And I want to escape and build something else. I have this on the daily. I'm like, oh man, I want to build another product. I want to build just something that's not this fucking browser. But I'm forgetting, and a lot of people are forgetting, that no matter what you build, you just will escape for a while, and then you'll find yourself up there, you'll launch the thing, whether it's open source or whether it's paid, then comes the maintenance, then come the issues. So it's fun to build it, but then comes this slope that nobody wants. So it got pretty real there, huh? I have 1 more minute. Hope the organizers don't mind it. You thought it's going to be easy peasy. I'm going to make my own thing. I'm going to be a founder. I'm going to make money. I'm going to buy a Tesla. No, it just doesn't work that way. So yeah, this is basically one of the worst financial decisions of my life. Let's put that aside. A lot of people see it as something. What people don't see is when I actually got that car. Like, it was a huge thing for me. But I was in my worst mental health state ever. For the first time ever, I started getting anxiety attacks, panic attacks. I would just pass by that car in the parking lot. I didn't even want to drive it. I was like, fuck that, material things. Like, I hated everything about my job, about the startup. But just people see the one thing that you post and they're like, oh, it must be cool being that. Like, it fucking sucked. Worst period ever. I hate this saying. I hate this saying with all my being. Like, this is the worst thing that people say. I would rather cry in a Ferrari. If you actually felt like that low, like I know that some of you have felt that low and felt how it is to be like with wrecked mental health and work overtaking your life, I would rather smile in an Uber. That's what I would do. So I'm going to summarize with 3 final slides. There's no next level. I realized this. I've been freelancing. I've been doing a job. I've been doing my own thing. I've been doing workshops. I've been doing traveling. So it seems like in the front end, full stack scope, I've tried all the things. There's no next level. There's no best thing. There's no best thing. Everyone just does their best thing, or you see it on social media and you think, oh, it must be nice doing that. Even this travel. I've been traveling for 3 weeks. I'm exhausted. I can't wait to go home. But it's glorified and it's nice. So there's no next level. It's fine being number 2. Actually, being number 2 is the shit. We got to make it funny a little bit at the end. We don't want to make it depressing. So it's fine being number 2. People have over-glorified being number 1, running things and whatever. But you can be number 2, 3, 4, 147 at some company and still be happy with yourself. It doesn't matter who's on the next level and who's above or whatever. You can still be happy with whatever you do. So final thing, it's a Dalai Lama conclusion or whatever, that happiness is a mindset. I really, really believe this, that on any level or whatever, you can be on the top and be super unhappy and depressed. You can be somewhere in the middle, somewhere in the bottom, and you can be super happy. And I hope that this was valuable. So the last thing is, can't see dots. We were at the last conference and I told him all of this about how it drains me to run this thing. It's so annoying and all the lessons I've learned. And he asked me this, knowing all of this, everything that I said, would you do it again? So Hello Darkness, my old friend, started playing in my head. I started staring at the table. He was like, are you good? And I don't actually have an answer to this one. So I just want to thank you for listening to this. I really appreciate it. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. If you want to talk, I'll be around for the entire day. And you can find me on Twitter at @KITZE. Thank you very much. Thank you.